The class today is the sixth class of ACCA F9 revision course. And the class today will finish the discussion of risk management by sharing with you on two questions in scenario-based objective test question, which is ZPS and Park Company. After discussing these two questions, we'll go through the objective test question part, which we will select 8 questions to discuss how to solve it. After risk management, we'll go through business valuations by sharing with you the mind map, also by sharing with you the theories, and also the discussions about the business valuations key points. We conclude the class by reviewing one of the business valuations question, which is chart, and summary afterwards. So we start to discuss the first risk management question, ZPS now. Here is the question information. So please read it by yourself. And once you finish your reading, you just come back and we will share with you about how to solve this question. This company whose home currency is dollar, and it took out a fixed interest peso bank loan, which the peso is the foreign currency, the FX, several years ago when peso interest rates were relatively cheap compared to the dollar interest rates. And ZPS does not have any income in pesos. So in other words, it has to change the dollar into pesos for the repayment or the interest as well. Economic difficulties have now increased peso interest rates, while dollar interest rates have remained relatively stable. ZPS must pay interest on the day set by bank, and a payment of 5 million pesos is due in 6 months' time. So you have this exposure, and because it's transaction-based exposure, it's the transaction exposure which can be hedged by different hedging instruments. The information provided to you, including the spot rate, which is 12.5 to 12.582 pesos per dollar, and the 6-month forward rate quoted to you as well, for interest rates, which can be used by this company, are shown below for borrowing rates and deposit rate. So you have this information as a background information. You can work on 5 multiple choice or objective test questions. The first question is asking you about what is the dollar cost of forward market hedge. So for forward market hedge, we will take a look of this 6-month forward rate, because the payment of 5 million pesos is due in 6 months' time, which is stated in this statement. We have 2 rates, the bid price and the ask price. All right. So here I just check it out. The bid price, which is 12.805 to 12.889 peso per dollar. And which rate should be used, which is 12.805, the bid rate, because my simple logic is, if you have to pay 5 million peso, so how many dollars will be converted. Okay, in a simple sense that you should use more dollar to change peso. Okay, when you use the dollar to change peso, you have to use more dollar to change it. So you have to use the bid price on this situation. For 5 million pesos divided by the forward rate, which is 12.805, then you got when you use your own calculator. It is in terms of peso, in terms of dollar, sorry, in terms of dollar, it is $390,422. Okay, so in the question we have option A is exactly the same as what we work. So in this question, the most important part is you have to choose the correct forward rate for the conversion, because you have 5 million exposure in 6 months' time. It is the transaction exposure. Which is the hedging instruments can be applied, for example, the forward or the money market hedge maybe, or other hedging instruments can be applied to hedge the foreign exchange rate risk. And the first requirement in this question is asking you about the foreign market hedge. You find out the forward rate, which is the 12.805, which is the bidding price, and you convert it into dollar. So you find the answer is $390,472 to convert the 5 million peso in these questions. Okay, move on to next questions. The second part, or the second requirement here, is asking you which of the following is or are correct for both purchasing power parity theory and interest rate parity theory. Because for you to remember, it is not either or, it is both. So the statement should be correct for both theory. The first statement, the theory holds in the long term rather than the short term. In our discussion of purchasing power parity theory and interest rate parity theory, it is a forecasting theory for PPP, or purchasing power parity theory. It is a forecasting theory in which it is forecast the S1, the spot rate at period 1, which is the exchange rate in a certain period of time from now. And for the interest rate parity theory, it is the current forward rate quote. Okay, it finds the current forward rate used by the bank to issue any forward market instruments to any potential clients. They generally use the interest rate parity for the reference for the quote. And in these questions and in these theories, they applied in long term, but there is short-term fluctuations in the exchange or in the forex market. The short-term fluctuations in the exchange market is not catered or accounted in these theories, but in long run they hold. Okay, in the long run they hold. So the first statement is correct. The second statement is the exchange rates reflect the different cost of living in two countries. when we say the cost of living, it means, for example, inflation or purchasing power, but we don't mention about any interest rate part here. We mention about only cost of living. So here it only applies to purchasing power parity. In other words, it is not a statement explaining the interest rate parity theory. For the third statement, the currency of the country with a higher inflation rate will weaken against the other currency. Yes, under purchasing power parity theory, but not interest rate parity theory, because interest rate parity theory is about the cost of capital of two countries. In the long run, they should be the same. So any adjustment should be put through in the exchange rate. Because of the interest rate difference. And it doesn't mention about the inflation rate. And the inflation rate change will, for example, will weaken or will strengthen any other currency is a discussion under purchasing power parity theory. So in other words, this is not correct. Then is only first statement correct? The answer is D here. The third question about this past paper, ZPS, is asking you what are the appropriate 6-month interest rates for ZPS company to use if the company hedges the peso payment using a money market hedge. Remember, in the first requirement, we are asked about the forward rate hedge. Here we are asked about the money market hedge. It's about 6-month period of time. So you have to remember the steps. You have the peso to be paid in 6 months. It is the FX. It is the foreign currency. You have the dollar, which is the local currency. Then you have the demand in foreign currency in 6 months' time. You have the payment in 6 months' time. So right now, what you have to do is the step 1, you don't have any dollar or any local currency. You have to borrow dollar or local currency now. Okay, and once you borrow the money back from the bank or from other institutions, you have to convert dollar. You have to convert the dollar into peso at spot rate, at current spot rate. And the third step, you have to deposit the peso. You convert from the dollar into a bank for 6 months' time. So you have the peso in 6 months' time to repay your peso or liabilities in peso. All right. So here is the steps. Then you have to know. You have the borrowing rate in local currency or dollar now, and you have to convert the dollar into peso at the current spot rate and deposit in the bank for the peso deposit. And remember, it's 6 months' time. So check it in the background information. It's the per year numbers. All right. So you have to borrow dollar now, which is not 3.5%. So you have to apply 4.5% per year. Okay. So let me mark it down. 4.5% is the following rate per year. Is the dollar. And for peso, the rate that you have applied is the deposit rate. So the borrowing rate in peso interest rate is not correct. For deposit rate, it is 7.5% per annum. 7.5% per year. So you have 4.5% divided by 2 is a 6 months time, 2.25% per 6 months. And for peso, it is 7.5% divided by 2, which is 3.75% per 6 months. All right. So what's the answer? For the borrowing rate, it is 2.25, and for the deposit rate, which is 3.75, the answer is C here. Okay. So I explained, here is the money market hedge question. You have to understand well about the steps, because you are going to pay foreign currency in 6 months time. So now you have to borrow local currency, and in this case it's dollar. Borrow local currency now, convert the local currency into foreign currency at current spot rate, and deposit your foreign currency into the bank for the period stated here, 6 months time. Okay. So some students maybe for example, they are careless by taking the option A, because it's the full year interest rate. So it's not correct here. We are required to work on the 6 month interest rate only. And question 4 on this risk management question. The requirement here is which of the following methods are possible ways for ZPS company to hedge its existing foreign currency risk. So let's check out the answer here. The background information is it has no income generated in peso. So the first statement, the first option, which is stating that the matching receipts and payments, it seems not possible because there's no receipts, there's no income. If there's no income, then it's impossible for the company to match the payments with receipts. And for currency swaps, yes, it's possible because it is a financial instrument arranged by any financial institutions for any customers would like to hedge the exchange risk. Third point is leading or lagging. It seems impossible because for the 5 million peso, it cannot, the payment cannot be delayed. Because it's the obligation by the company to the bank or to the financial institutions. Therefore, there's not possible for the lagging to be happened here. So it's crossed here. And the fourth one is currency futures. Yes, it's also possible because currency futures is the financial instruments in the exchange for any participants to hedge their risk. So the answer here is number 2 and number 4, which is C. Option C here. All right. Part 5 of set PS, the requirement is it asks you about the company also trades with companies in Europe, which use the euro as their home currency. In 3 months' time, so 3 months' time, the company will receive 300,000 euro from a customer. Which of the following is the correct procedure for hedging this receipt using a money market hedge? So in this question, your background information shown here is you have the receipt in foreign currency, in Forex, in 3 months' time. So what are the steps, okay, for money market hedge? Because it asks you about the money market hedge. So the first step, okay, because you don't have any foreign currency right now and you don't have any local currency right now, what you have to do, okay, the first step is you can borrow foreign currency or euro here. For euro now, step 2, you can immediately convert the euro or convert the foreign currency into local currency, into dollar here. At current spot rate. The third step is you can deposit the local currency here is dollar, the local currency in the bank, say for 3 months' time here. And step 4, assuming your customer can pay you finally, so you can settle the bank loan. Here is with the receipt. Okay, settle the bank loan with receipt. So here are the steps. Then we can find which one is correct in the options. For example, A, the first step is says borrow an appropriate amount in euro now, yes. And convert the euro amount into dollars now, yes. Place the dollar on deposit, yes. And final step is to use the customer payments to repay the loan, yes. So the correct answer should be A. But let us check for options B to option D. For option B, borrow an appropriate amount in dollars now. No, it's not correct because you have the receipt in foreign currency. Okay, you are not having any foreign currency obligations in 3 months' time. So you don't need to borrow any amount in local currency or dollar now here. And for C, borrow appropriate amount in dollars now is also incorrect. For option D, borrow an appropriate amount in euro now, yes. And place the euro on deposit, okay, it's not correct because you have to convert the foreign currency into local currency and then place the local currency in the bank as a deposit. And finally, you receive the customer payments to settle your obligations in the bank for the foreign currency that you receive your deposit in 3 months' time, which is it deposit in a local currency. In this case, it's dollar. So you can have the money back, and which is well hedged in this situation. Okay, so here is the explanation of risk management for ZBS questions from part 1 to part 5.